Hi guys, it's Hani here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I know how much you guys love all things creepy around Halloween time. So today I'm gonna show you how to make this delicious zombie brain dessert. So let's get started. I'm going to use this mold that I picked up at a local dollar store, and we're gonna use white candy melts. I'm going to do 2 coats. First coat shouldn't be too heavy. I'm just going to coat all the inside, and then I ended up removing some of the chocolate because I put too much in there. I'm going to stick this into the fridge for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna give it another coat. We're going to have to put this in the fridge again for about 20 minutes or until chocolate hardens. And then once ready to unmold the brain from the mold, loosen up the edges a little bit, and then you should be able to unmold it really easily. I'm going to, however, put it back into the mold just so I don't mess up the outside while I'm filling it. For the filling, we're going to use egg whites. I added a little bit of salt to my egg whites, granulated gelatin, water, heavy cream, sugar. We're gonna need pumpkin puree. You can use store-bought pumpkin puree or you can make your own. We're gonna use cinnamon, cloves, ginger, and a little bit of nutmeg, vanilla extract, and also some mascarpone cheese. If you don't have mascarpone, you can use cream cheese instead. First, I'm going to whisk granulated sugar and egg whites over a pot with simmering water. And I'm going to whisk it until all of the sugar is dissolved. Once the mixture is hot to the touch, I usually whisk it for additional 2-3 minutes, and then we're going to beat it with a mixer. Beat the egg whites until you have almost stiff peaks formed. I don't want the meringue to be too stiff because then it becomes harder to fold it into the pumpkin mixture. And now we're gonna beat the heavy cream as well. I'm also adding a little bit of vanilla. Combine gelatin with cold water and let it bloom for 5 minutes. Once bloomed, it's going to be spongy to the touch. I'm going to microwave it for about 5 seconds until melted. Make sure you let the dissolved gelatin come to room temperature, and then you can whisk it into the pumpkin puree. Also, you can add spices and whisk it until combined. Mascarpone cheese is rather dense, so I didn't want to add it all at once to my pumpkin puree because I would end up having lumps in it. So I'm adding it to a small amount of pumpkin puree, making it a little more pliable and softer so it's easier to blend it in. To finish the mousse, we're gonna fold in the meringue and then whipped heavy cream. Now we're ready to layer everything into the mold. I'm using Ladyfingers. I ended up cutting few in half so they would fit in the mold better. I also made really strong coffee and I let the coffee cool completely. We're going to start by spreading a little bit of pumpkin mousse on the bottom of your mold, and then dip the cookies in coffee and layer them on the top. If needed, you can cut a few cookies so they are a little smaller and they fit better. And then we're just gonna layer and repeat until we get to the top. To me, this is kind of like a tiramisu. I know it's not a real tiramisu, but it was so good. Now that we've filled the mold, I'm going to stick this into the fridge overnight. I had some leftover mousse, so I figured I'm going to finally use these adorable silicone molds that I bought years ago. So I'm just gonna layer some of the mousse and cookies in there. I'm also adding fresh raspberries. And to make the brain, I'm gonna use stabilized whipped cream. You can learn how to make it in my Starbucks cake video. And I'm using a round piping tip. So basically, to make it look like brain, I'm going to pipe 2 squiggly lines on each half of the cup. You can get more creative and make it more squiggly. Once you are done, stick these into the refrigerator for about 4 to 5 hours. To make these a little more gory, I'm going to add some edible, delicious blood. I got this yummy jam in Tennessee when we were vacationing there this summer. I heated up jam in a microwave until it was more pourable, and then I filled my piping bag with it, and we're just gonna pipe lines onto those squiggly lines we made. Now to unmold the brain dessert, you're just gonna flip it over and ta-da! And same thing, I'm just gonna pipe jam all over there. What's great about this dessert that you can actually make it ahead of time. I would say up to 3 days. Store it in a refrigerator. I also wanted to stick a knife in the brain, but because of all the chocolate on the outside, I didn't want to crack it by forcing the knife in, so I ended up heating up the blade with some flame. You can also stick the knife in hot water if you don't have a lighter on hand, and then carefully stick the knife in the brain. I have to tell you, this dessert is so delicious. If you were to make this for kids, I would probably omit the coffee, or maybe you can use strawberry syrup or something like that. Now look at that, it was so good. I also cut the brain in half just so you can see what it looks like inside. It was so delicious, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in a comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.